Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily live show from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., which is designed to help small businesses. If you've got any questions and you want to ask them throughout the show, please put them in the comments on our live feed. And if you need any more advice, please join the Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There's accountants and bookkeepers and business experts on there 24/7 ready to answer your questions. During the live session, we'll be running a poll, so do please engage with that and I'll reveal the results at the end. My name is Johann Goree and I am the founder of JGBC, which is an accounting firm based in Scotland, helping to support small businesses and startup businesses across the UK. And I'm also the managing director of OnPoint Accounting Group, which is a group of bookkeeping and accounting firms working to improve the value they offer their clients, the value they add to their businesses, and then provide a competitive opportunity for them to be acquired in the future. Over the next few weeks, we're going to keep getting a lot of negative press, and it's going to be really hard to manage and encourage our teams to be positive and deliver a positive aspect of service to our customers. So really, I wanted to talk to you today about how important it is to manage your team in a positive way, and to ensure that they are then interacting with your customers in a positive way. The reason I'm saying this is because I went to a local business over the weekend, and their staff are very clearly demotivated, and the customer service that I've come to expect from that business just wasn't there. And I completely understand why. They are fed up, they're run down, they're tired of the constant changing rules. But the staff members weren't giving the business the image that you'd perhaps want them to as a business owner. So I think it's really important that we look at ways we can help our staff to do that properly. One of the reasons I like talking about managing people and leading people and businesses is because I'm actually a chartered manager. So this is the equivalent of a chartered accountant, but in management and leadership. So it's where I've studied the most, and it's the area that I really enjoy listening to on podcasts and audiobooks, and also reading about. So in times like this, it's really, really difficult to lead people in a positive way, because we ourselves as managers and leaders aren't feeling positive about the future. So our anxiety and stress will rub off and reflect on our staff, which in turn will rub off and affect our customers, which is what we don't want. So there's lots of things we can do, though, to help provide positivity in the workplace. The way we carry ourselves and the discussions we have with our staff teams and the content of those discussions is really important. So we need to come across, regardless of our anxieties and stress as business leaders and managers, we need to come across as very positive. It's tough, but it's going to be okay. Let's get on with this. Let's motivate. Let's inspire our teams to move forwards. And if we are positive and giving that impression ourselves to our teams, that will inspire and motivate them to be positive, because it gives them some confidence. It helps offset some of their anxieties. Because yes, we might all be worried about losing our businesses or struggling to meet our targets, but they're going to be worried just as much about how they're going to put food on their family tables, how their jobs are going to survive. And if that runs down to our client base, our customers, then they're going to not enjoy the experience of coming to the small businesses. And I think part of the real thrill of shopping and engaging with small businesses on the high street or in any experience you have as a customer is the energy and the enthusiasm that you receive in your customer service from the staff and the team that are running the business for what they're doing. You can really feel a sense of passion and excitement about what they're doing. And I think that makes the customer experience for the customer a lot more enjoyable. So if you went to a large supermarket to buy your groceries, the team there aren't going to tell you about where they've got these products from and how best to prepare something. So if you go to the supermarket and buy vegetables compared to going to your local greengrocer, They're two very, very different experiences. And the people in the small business are so much more passionate and knowledgeable about their products. And that makes a much better and more valuable shopping experience for the customer. But that's something that can disappear very quickly, because if we're negative and have anxiety, our communication skills will drop and lessen, and we won't be as willing to share our experience and our knowledge of our products, etc., because we just want these short, easy transactions with the customer. We just want it to get over and done with. I want to go home. I don't want to be serving these customers. So I think it's really important that we maintain the experience that our customers have come to expect, which is an enthusiastic, knowledgeable, passionate experience from our team and our business leaders and managers, which adds huge value to the service they receive and the value from the products they buy from us. And that's what I noticed this weekend was lacking in certain places. And it wasn't just in one business, it was in a few, where people are obviously tired, they're worn down by the changes. And I just felt that we were just going through the motions, going through the process. And if I wanted to just go through the motions and go through the process of buying my meats and groceries, etc., I'd have gone to the supermarket, and I'd have probably saved a little bit of money. But actually, I prefer going in and talking to staff and business owners about their products, their services, asking them for ideas on how best to use this vegetable that I've not used before. Maybe I'm looking for inspiration on how to use it differently because I'm used to dealing with it one way. You know, I want to know about the best way to prepare a bit of meat and stuff like that. And that adds huge value to me, and the enthusiasm and the passion you get from them is fantastic. But I think in times like this, it's very easy to let that slip. So it's really important, especially while there's so much media campaigning about buy local, shop local, support small businesses. Google are doing big advert campaigns. Visa and MasterCard have got big campaigns going on about it. FSB have always got campaigns going on. Like, there's so much encouragement for us all to use small businesses and support our local businesses that a lot of people might be coming to you for the first time. And although it's not your staff members' first time serving a customer, so they might be a bit anxious about their job and security, etc., they need to give that customer that first time experience, which you want them to have every time, obviously, of your business, because that encourages them to come back, and it shows them the value and the passion and excitement of going and shopping with you. So I think it's really important as managers and leaders that we sit and we take a moment to reflect on and just observe our teams. Are they still delivering that level of service you knew they delivered a year ago or 2 years ago, for example? And if they're not, how are we going to do that? Maybe it's time to have a team meeting. Just highlight, oh, we've noticed this and we've noticed that. Give them some encouragement, give them some support. Just verbally, be passionate and excited yourself. Keep trying to push and grow your business. And by doing that, your team will pick up on it and they will pass that energy onto your customers. So I think it's really important that we just have a step back over the next few days and accept there is a lot going on in the world. It's not all great news. There's some good positivity out there about the rolling out the vaccines, etc. But let's focus on what we can control today. Let's focus on encouraging our teams to deliver that passion and energy that we know they can, and that expertise that we know gives the small businesses the edge on our big competitors on Amazon and supermarkets, etc. So let's have a bit of time on that for the next few days, and hopefully that will help your businesses survive and keep thriving during this difficult time. So I am going to go on and do some questions. We've got first few questions coming in through Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. So if you've got any questions, don't forget to stick it on the comments section of this live stream and we can go from there. So we have got our first question in today from Nikki on Facebook Live. Is it possible to register my business, a very small community interest company, and have books updated back to when we opened, please, which was December 2019. Hi, Nikki. If it's a community interest company, that's also known as a KIC, CIC, that needs to have been registered from day one at Companies House. You can't back register. Companies House will only register from today onwards. So you'll need to have a think about how you're going to deal with everything from before today. But if you're wanting to operate as a KIC, KICs or community interest companies have a lot of rules about how much dividends a director can take from them, how much salary a director can earn from them as a proportion of the overall costs and profits of the business. And ultimately, it's a step between a limited company and a charity. So community interest corporation is very much what I would class as a very ethically bound company who wants to show their commitment to their local community or a community of some form. But they're also under the same rules as a limited company. So you won't be able to go backwards and register it as far as I'm aware. I believe you have to register it today going forwards, and you'll have to deal with the December 19 to today bit as best you can in the form of a sole trader, I would imagine, or of a community group, something like that. So you'll probably best go and have a chat with a local accountant and have a chat with them and see what they advise, how you deal with the 2019 to today's bit. But going forwards, you just need to crack on with that community interest corporation registration. It is quite a lengthy form. It's not something you can just do online, but you can take the form offline, fill it all out, because you are going to be held to account for your commitments and promises for giving back to the community. And that's why it's a more extensive process than just registering a limited company. But good luck with that. Our next question is from Twitter DM. Hi, Johann. Can food takeaway businesses apply for the newly announced grants if they're still open, or only closed takeaways can apply for the grants? So you need to have a look at the government website for this. The detail came out late on Friday night. I've not had a chance to fully read it in detail. Another aspect of this funding that got announced is some of it doesn't apply to Scotland, some of it only applies to England, some of it only applies to England and Wales, some of it applies to the UK. I've not had a chance to sit and read through all that detail yet, but I know it's available on the government website under the coronavirus COVID support for businesses. There's a long document on there, which I'll be sat reading today. So I'm not going to give you assumptions or anything. I think you just have a look at the gov.uk website and have a read for yourself. If you're not sure, ask your accountant, and I'm sure they'll be able to go through it and clarify any questions you've got. But yeah, it's not been the simplest thing. We've had this huge headline, which we get quite often from our government, and it's taken up to a week for the details to come out, and the details then a bit more complicated than perhaps the headline would have given commitments for. So yeah, have a quick look through that, and I'm sure the detail will clarify whether you can or can't claim it while being open and trading. We've got a question from Lynn on Twitter DM. Do you think customers have some understanding of that it might take longer to respond or serve them as normal these days? I'm doing all I can to keep business as usual, but struggling to do so at the same time. Okay, Lynn, I'm going to give you an example here. I have a German Shepherd, and her pancreas failed a few years ago, so she doesn't produce enough enzymes to process her food properly. So we have to give her some powder enzymes with every bowl of dog food. So I ordered it from my usual place, which is a small business online. Okay. Normally it takes them a couple of days to pick it and ship it, and that's fine. I have no issue with that. I plan in advance for it, not an issue. I could get it quicker to me if I wanted to go to one of the bigger providers, but I choose to use a small business instead. The problem was I ordered the next batch of enzymes on the 20th of December, and I assumed there'll be a bit of issue with Christmas Day and Boxing Day and bank holidays. and Royal Mail being slammed with all their deliveries. But we got through to the 6th of January and I still didn't have any product. I hadn't even been emailed to say it'd been dispatched. And what had actually happened is they had to close their warehouse because they had a COVID outbreak. And that happened on the 21st of December. But between the 21st and the 6th of January, I had no contact from them whatsoever telling me that was the case. So I had to cancel my order and order it from somewhere else. And the one issue we had was they didn't communicate with their customer. So if you're having problems keeping up with your customer's demand, which is no bad thing, it's great that you're that busy, but if you are having problems, communicate with your customers, send out emails, apologize for the delay, give them ETAs and just explain what's going on. Just say to them, you're running on a smaller staff team because you can't have as many people in the warehouse or this office or wherever it is you work. Or your staff aren't getting as much done at the moment because they're all working from home. Some of them are homeschooling. We're all going through this together. We are all very aware of the challenges each individual is facing. And I think all we could ask for is a bit of communication. So if you are behind, if there are delays, and this goes to anyone running a small business, if you can't keep up with demand, just to be really open and honest with your customers. Explain the situation. I'm sure the majority will understand. If there's a time factor in there and they need that service or product quicker, then suggest other small businesses they could go to. Or if there isn't a time factor, just apologize, tell them when they're going to expect it, and work to try and achieve that deadline. Ultimately, don't put too much pressure on yourself that you're going to be losing sleep, getting stressed, impacting on your mental health. Just work as hard as you can, get your team working. But if you're communicating with your customers, it's not going to be a huge issue for them. So I hope that helps. But the key is communication, as it was in the story I've just used. Thankfully, I managed to get my enzymes just in time to help my dog, so she didn't suffer, thankfully. We have got a question from Leonard on Facebook Messenger. Good morning, Johann. Just wanted to confirm a doubt. I read that you only need to fill a self-assessment when you're self-employed or as a sole trader and earn more than £1,000. Have I got that right? That if I haven't earned more than £1,000, I don't need to fill it out. HMRC will not come hunting you if you've earned a turnover of less than £1,000. This is turnover, not profit. So if you've taken more than £1,000 between April 19 and April 2020, then you won't need to declare it on a self-assessment tax return. But if you've registered as self-employed for that time, you'll still need to send them a tax return. So you may as well declare the figures. If you haven't registered for tax return for that period yet, and you've turned over less than £1,000, fine, you don't need to register and do with that. But personally, I think it's always best practice that you do register and you do declare it, because there's often tax benefits if you are turning over money and you're starting a business. You're going to go on with it for a few years, but there's a loss in the business for the first couple of years, or you haven't made a huge amount of sales, because that loss can move forwards and help you with tax reductions in the future. So definitely worth having a chat with an accountant about whether it's worth doing your registration and filling out your tax return. But if you are registered to do tax returns, regardless of your turnover, HMRC will still expect a tax return if you're registered, and they will still expect it by the deadline of the 31st of January, regardless of its content. Otherwise, they will fine you for £100 for not filing it on time. And if you don't then file it at all, the fines just keep adding up. So if you're registered, and by that you've got a unique tax reference number, do still send in your tax return. If just do it online, it won't take you long if it's that simple. So I hope that helps clear that up. We have got a question from Oscar on Instagram DM. Good morning. I have 4 employees and everyone is on flexible furlough. It's been the most challenging year for us all. How are you keeping employees positive? I'm doing my best, but it's not always easy. Okay, this is a really challenging thing to do, to keep people positive, especially when we're on flexible furlough, because there's no routine. It's stop and start. There's no guarantee that they'll be in working with the team the next week. So it is really difficult to motivate them. But what I would say is look at the positives. If they're on flexible furlough, that means there must still be some work for them. So I would say flexible furlough is a lot more positive than full furlough. I would say that it shows a sign that the business is still going, there's demand. So look for those positives in there. It is really tough. I mean, trying to motivate my payroll team at the moment, it has been a real challenge for the last 9 months because furlough keeps changing and the rules and the amount of work required to do furlough returns is huge. So every time the government says we're extending it by a few more months, I have to really go in and rally the troops, tell them it's going to be okay, be there on the front line with them, work alongside them, have a chat, ask about the families, ask about what they're doing at the weekends. Just let them feel that you are there with them and that you're supporting them. That will go a really long way, both today and in the future. So yeah, I think that'd be my best advice for that. Our next question is from Godfrey on Twitter DM. Hi Johann, I am a self-employed associate dentist working in 2 different places. I want to register with HMRC, but do not know which address as my business address should be written in the self-assessment form, or should I register twice for each practice? Okay, so when you register with HMRC, what I would suggest is you register your home address as your trading address, as one central place, which is where all the post goes. And then when you do your self-assessment, you would put in the 2 different practices that you're working at as different incomes, and you put their addresses on then. So I'd keep you as a self-employed at your home address and then register the 2 separate businesses' income on 2 different forms on the self-assessment tax return. If you're still a little bit confused, have a chat with an accountant and I'm sure they'll be able to sit down and go through it with you and help you. Just be aware, accountants are very busy at the moment because of the tax return deadline that's coming up on the 31st January. So it might take them a few days to get back to you. Okay, we have got a question from Ali on Instagram stories. Can you share some tips to reduce payments on account for self-employed? I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Ali. I'm guessing you're meaning reducing payments on account for HMRC. So this is when you are paying your tax in advance, in effect, for your HMRC for the next year. If you know your trading has reduced and your profits have reduced, you can contact HMRC via their website, log in through your government gateway, and you can apply for a reduction in your tax payments. This will then bring down the amount you have to pay. So that's the easiest way. So what you need is some live figures. You need to know what your financial position is, because if you turn around to HMRC and say, oh, these are my new totals, which means my tax bill is going to be this, but then that's not the case. They may decide that you need to pay interest on the money you've not paid on time, because in effect that money becomes due again. So if your business has been impacted negatively financially by COVID or anything else for that matter, and you know you're not going to have as much tax to pay the next year because you've got a lower profit, then by all means log on using your government gateway and you can apply for a reduction in your payments on account through to HMRC. It's very quick. Literally, it takes 2 minutes to fill it out, and HMRC will update it normally within hours, but by the next day certainly, so that you can see what your current position is with them on your next statement. Hope that helps, Ali. Okay, we have got a question from Maria on Twitter DM. Hi, Johann. I live with a partner and the electric and internet is not in my name. Can I still claim against my tax bill? Okay, so in theory, yes. If the internet and electricity is in your name, you can still put it against your business because you're still working on it. You're still consuming it as your business. Your business is buying it from you. I would then say technically you probably need to pass that on to your partner, that money onto your partner, because they're paying for it to offset the bill. But that's up to you. Ultimately, though, we have an office for our accounting firms. The electric bill's not in their name, but we pay towards the electric bill, which the landlord pays for. And that's an allowable expense. So I would argue that by that method, yes, you can claim against your tax bill. So I hope that helps. We've got a question from Facebook Live. What are a few accounting tips you give new business owners starting up right now? Cool. Right now is a fantastic opportunity for you to start a new business. Small businesses are popping up all over the place at the moment. It's a really good time to start, as challenging as it is. So, first tip is keep up with your accounts and bookkeeping. Use software like QuickBooks so you're doing it on a daily basis. That way you've got a constant understanding of what level or where you are with your profits and costs and turnovers. And that way you can keep on top of everything financially. So, I mean, that is the biggest tip of all. Get your accounting software. I recommend QuickBooks, obviously, and just keep inputting stuff on a daily basis. Keep control of what's going in and out, and try and plan ahead with what you're doing with your cash. Even if it's just a 30-day spreadsheet of ins, outs, and what the difference is, to make sure your bank balance is going to be okay. Don't get excited by all the shiny things. I looked at a business's accounts the other day, first year trading, and they have brought every subscription and new shiny toy or software they could find. And it's caused them a lot of financial hardship since. If you are going to try different coaching and different education schemes and stuff like that, try one at a time and give it time to work. And make sure before you commit to pay for coaching or something, make sure it's going to be something that you can follow through and you've got enough time to invest in it, not just money. And keep an eye on your bank account. And same for personal accounts, actually. I go through my personal account and my business accounts every month, and I check what I've paid for subscription-wise, because you always forget what you've subscribed to. Are you paying for Spotify and you've not used it in 2 months? Do you need to keep that subscription? Same in business. Keep an eye on what you're paying for each month and consider, do I still use that tool or that software or subscription? If not, do I need to keep paying for it? Probably not. You could probably pick up the subscription later on if you need to start using it again. So they're my top tips. Accurate tracking of your bookkeeping in QuickBooks apps. Controlling your drive for new shiny toys and subscriptions. And monitoring your bank account each month and getting rid of those subscriptions you don't need, so you're keeping your costs down. So I hope that helps. So that's time for me to wrap up today. Thank you very much for all the questions. There's been some really good ones and really diverse selection there. So as I said at the start, we've been doing our poll. The poll results are in, and we asked you, are you optimistic about your business and the growth in 2021? 67% of you said yes, and 33% of you said no. I think that's a really good representation of what we're seeing across the UK and small businesses at the moment. For those of you who said yes, that's fantastic. Take that energy and pass it on to your customers and onto your teams. Make sure they are aware of your optimism, because that goes miles in motivating and encouraging people. Those that are no, have a think about how you could be more positive, what you could do in your business to adapt and change it, and then to help you have a more positive outlook. Is there a new service you can launch that will mean you're going to generate more money if that's the concern, etc. Things like that will really help. So I hope that helps. It's a really good representation of the poll across the UK, I feel. And it's certainly what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. So thank you all for tuning in. If you want to get in contact with me, you can do so on LinkedIn at Johann Goree. I think I'm probably the only one on there, so just search Johann Goree. I'm sure I'll pop up. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Adam McCann, who is the founder and CEO of Claimer. It's an online service which takes away the hassle and expense of claiming R&D tax credits. So tune in tomorrow and get advice on how to foster a productive culture. A reminder that if you need any advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. It's a really useful resource full of accountants, bookkeepers, and business experts. They're all there to share experience and knowledge 24/7. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I've certainly enjoyed answering all your fantastic questions this morning, and have a good day. Thank you very much.